Hey Dynamics 365ers, it's Benitez here, and in this vlog today I'm going to be going through part 2 of my grant application management solution that uses Dynamics portals and Dynamics 365. So in terms of the agenda, I'm going to go through a recap. I'll talk about the technologies and methods used, I'll talk about the process that I'm going to show you, and we're going to jump straight into the demo. So in terms of a recap, in my last vlog I showed you the application process of how a grant application is submitted through Dynamics portals, and then I also showed how universal resource scheduling back in Dynamics 365 can be used to book external reviewers. So the technologies and methods that I've used for this grant application management solution is Dynamics portals, Dynamics 365, universal resource scheduling, which I showed you in my part 1 vlog, and what I'm going to go through today is the remainder of the application process and the challenges that I faced and how I got around them by using a combination of actions and a custom workflow activity from Workflow Elements, which is built by a fellow MVP, Aiden. And yeah, I'm happy to show you how that custom workflow activity step works today. So in terms of the reviewer experience, this is when the reviewer is notified about needing to review a submitted grant application, and then the commentary is just the back and forth comments from the external reviewer to the applicant and vice versa. So in terms of the grant application process that I'll be showing you today, so we're picking up from where we left off. So the booking has been confirmed, the bookable resource booking records have been created, and an email needs to get sent out to the external reviewer. The external reviewer reviews the application, and then they decide whether they need further information. If they do need further information, then they simply write a comment on the portal, and then an email is generated that gets sent to the applicant. The applicant responds, and then it goes around in a loop until the external reviewer makes a decision on whether to approve or decline the grant application. So this is what I'm going to be going through today. So the challenges that I had faced along the way was, challenge 1 was I wanted to provide a hyperlink that will allow the external reviewer to open up the record directly in Dynamics portals. The second challenge that I came across was, okay, how do I create a conditional workflow based on the note? So when the commentary goes back and forth, the record that's being created back in Dynamics 365 is actually a note record. So this will make sense when I go through this with you shortly. And then my third challenge was, okay, based on that note, go and generate an email, and likewise from the first step in this diagram that you're seeing, send an email directly to the applicant where the hyperlink will allow the applicant to open up the application directly in Dynamics portals. All right, so let's jump straight into it. Okay, so picking up where we left off from part 1, the bookable resource booking records were created, and the next thing that happens behind the scenes is an email is sent to the external reviewer so that the external reviewer can review the submitted grant application. Now, typically in Dynamics portals, when you want to send an email and a hyperlink for that recipient of the email to go to the portal, normally it's a hyperlink to the web page. And in terms of the external reviewer, I wanted to make that process more smooth. So I wanted them to be able to click on the link, and when they click on the link, it will automatically take them to that application record. So my challenge here that I needed to do was somehow retrieve the application grid in that application grid from the application so that it could be inserted as a hyperlink. So when you open up a record in Dynamics portals, you will first be presented with the URL path, which is represented by the web page, and then it will pull through the GUID, and so that's how Dynamics portals knows that it's opening up this particular application. So that was my challenge in terms of, okay, how do I generate this hyperlink in an email that is sent by a workflow back in Dynamics 365. So this is where Aiden's solution comes in handy. So Aiden has created workflow elements, and within the workflow elements managed solution that you install in your Dynamics Portals instance, it has a bunch of custom activity steps that can be utilized in your workflow. So what I did was I came here and I downloaded the solution and then I installed it in my instance. So what the email looks like is it will pull through the GUID of the application. So this is my workflow that is created against the application, and in here I've inserted the workflow get metadata custom workflow activity step from Aiden solution. So I've given it a name of retrieve application GUID, and then the next step that I've created in the workflow is the workflow step that will send the email message. And within the email, this is where I can reference the parameters in that custom workflow activity step. So I'm going to quickly show you how I create hyperlinks for Dynamics Portals. So I do have another vlog that goes through this in detail, so check it out. So basically I just grab the hyperlink of the portal and I go back into the hyperlink wizard back in Dynamics CRM. We just have the email in the background, and I type in the text that I wanted to display, I copy and paste the link, and I click OK. And then from here, this is where I can call Aiden's custom workflow activity. So this is the one that I had created, and the option that I'm selecting is the workflow record -record ID. So this will actually retrieve the GUID. And then once you put it within the hyperlink, it will then retrieve the GUID of the application. So this is what it looks like, and so all you need to do is just get rid of spaces. But yeah, so that's what you do. So this is it up here. So I'm just going to exit out of this, and we'll go ahead and update this workflow again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the emails. So this is the email that would have been sent to the external reviewer, and what we're going to do is click on the hyperlink. So once I click on the hyperlink, it's going to automatically launch the application. So as you can see, there was no need to go to the applications for review. So just to prove that that did work, because I already had a portal tab open, let me just go back. So click on the link again, and that's the experience that Cesar Milan will see. So he didn't need to go to the home page, he didn't need to be taken to the entity list, he was automatically directed to the application, and this is what it looks like. Now that's happening because he is signed in. If he wasn't signed in, so let me just go back to the home page and sign out, the experience would be this. So he would see this. Now you can have a content snippet that will change the message displayed so that Cesar Milan will be prompted to sign in. I did think about automatically displaying the sign-in page if they weren't signed in, which is where you can actually insert the sign-in web page URL with the GUID as well. So it will look like this, but I don't think this was a good end user experience, and I'll show you why. So when I sign in, it will then take me to the application, which is great. That's what you want. But if Cesar Milan was signed in the portal and he happened to get another email regarding an application, then this is what the end user experience would be like, and I didn't think that was good. Oh, sorry, wrong link. Back to the email. So if I did have this link in the email and he was signed into the portal and another email came through, and let's say he did click on the sign in hyperlink, it would look like that, which is kind of confusing because he's already signed in. So I decided to just stick with the URL that will automatically open up the application. This is if they are signed in, and if they aren't signed in, then they'll see that page saying that they don't have the appropriate permissions. But like I said, you can create a content snippet that will then prompt the person to log in. Okay, so that was challenge one. So challenge one, I was able to overcome using Aiden's workflow. So I was using the custom workflow activity of get metadata record. And so when Cesar Millan goes to the application, this is what it looks like. So the application is in read only, and he can see the details that have been submitted about the application. So again, this is all configuration for Dynamics portals. There's no code behind this, it's simply configuration. And so this is the supporting documentation that K9 had submitted, and to prove to you that the external reviewers, so Cesar Millan, can open up the record, sorry, the file. I'll just download it and I'll open it. And as you can see, it's opening up Word, and they'll be able to see the file that K9 had submitted. So then the process from here for the external reviewer is to review the application and then make a decision. So they can either approve or decline, or if they need further information from the applicant, then they can do so by adding a note. So what I've done here is I'm using the out-of-the-box configuration for notes for Dynamics portals. You can use the timeline control, which I will be showing in a future vlog, but for this particular purpose, I wanted to stick with simply using notes, and so that's what I'm going to be going through. So the idea is that if Cesar Millan wants further information from K9, they come here, they click on add a note, and they type in information. And they can also attach a file if they want the applicant to see it. So now when I click on add note, that will create a comment, and what's happening behind the scenes is an email will be sent out to the applicant. So this is where I face challenge number 2. So I'm going to go back to Dynamics 365, and we're going to go back to the application record, and we're going to scroll down to the notes area. So when a note is saved in Dynamics 365 as a result of being created in Dynamics portals, the only way you know who was, let's say, the author of the note is through the title of the note. So when a note is created and stored in Dynamics 365, it will grab the full name of the contact, and it will also grab the GUID. And then you can also see the comment that was entered by the portal user. So my challenge here was, okay, I need to be able to send emails to the applicant when the external reviewer provides a comment, and when the applicant provides a comment back to the external reviewer, I need to send that to the external reviewer. So that kind of sounds simple, but when I actually went down to the nitty-gritty of actually building it, it wasn't as simple as I thought it would be, but you know, again, there are workarounds because Dynamics 365 is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the solution, and I'll bring up what I thought I could do. So because of how the full name of the contact or the GUID was in the note title, I thought I could create a workflow that would go, if the note title contains the value of the applicant or the external reviewer in the regarding application, then, you know, send the email. But the roadblock that I hit was that the title is what we call a single line of text field. And if I then went to the regarding application and tried to, you know, find the lookup that represents the external reviewer or the applicant, I was out of luck because it was only presenting single line of text fields in the application. So I couldn't use that. So then the next thing that I thought could be done, and it can be done, is using actions. So let me just bring this up. So when Cesar Millan creates that note, what we want to do is check that if the note contains Cesar Millan, then send an email to K9. And what I'm doing with this action is what you call an output argument. So, and I'm setting it to a type of string, and I'm grabbing the value of the external reviewer from the regarding application, and I'm using assign value. And then likewise, I have another action that will essentially do the same thing but for the applicant. So again, it's an output argument, the type is string, and I'm grabbing the regarding application contact, so the applicant, and I'm assigning it as the value in here. So technically I could have both of these arguments in one action, but at the time I was doing some troubleshooting when I was initially trying to get it to work. So then the next thing that I did was I created another workflow against the note, and now this is where I'm doing the conditional check. So this time I've inserted my actions, and you'll see here I'm now checking if the note title contains, so now it's calling the action, contains the regarding application contact, then send the email to the external reviewer. Otherwise, if the note title contains the external reviewer from the regarding application, so this is where it's grabbing the external reviewer from that lookup, and then it's inserting it into that output string argument, and that's how it's doing the conditional check. Then it's sending an email to K9. So that is how I overcame that challenge. Now, challenge number 3 was I couldn't use Aiden's workflow, custom workflow activity step, because this time, because it's against a note record, it's not going to pull through the application ID. And so what I did in another workflow, so let me just bring it up, is set the application grid into a custom field that I had created. So I'm using that same using that same workflow, get metadata, custom workflow activity, and this time I'm inserting it into my custom field that I had created. So it's showing the header, oh wait, no, I can get to it here, which is this one. So if I go back to Dynamics 365, that's that custom field that I had created. And so I've got an initial workflow that every time an application is created, it's setting this custom field with the GUID, and it's doing that by using the get metadata custom workflow activity step from Aiden's workflow element solution. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was a mouthful. Okay. So back to the email. So then with the email itself, what I'm doing this time is I'm still grabbing the hyperlink, so the URL address of the record, so either review application for the external reviewer, and then I'm inserting that custom field that I had created. So again, all you need to do is just go to the regarding application. So if I just bring it up quickly, and then you select the application good, and then that just gets inserted in there. So I'm just going to activate this workflow. Oh, didn't want to see that. Let's try that again. Now, I think it might have activated in the background. Let's just double check. Oh, it's still in draft. Okay. Cool, so now it's activated. Alright, so now when I go back to my advanced find and I refresh this, we should see the email that was created and sent to K9. So again, the same experience for K9 is that she will receive this email. It will have a hyperlink, and when she clicks on the hyperlink, it will automatically take her to that record. So I'm just going to right click and copy link address. Oh, so you can already see it down at the bottom. Oh, it's actually gone now. That it was showing. So if I just exit out of here, just go back to home, Alright, so just pretend she's clicked on the hyperlink and it will automatically take her to the record. So this is the application, and the cool thing that you'll notice is that the note that Cesar Milan had created is now in edit mode. So if I just bring these up side by side just to show you the difference, you'll see that over on the left, Cesar Milan can edit his note, and that's because he has he was the author of that note. Sorry, I was just trying to resize this. Nope, okay, not happening. So now when I add a note as K9, she can edit her note, and then when we refresh Cesar's webpage for the application, you can see that the note has come through, but he can't edit it. So again, that's configured by Dynamics Portal's entity permissions and web roles. And behind the scenes, we would have seen an email that gets created and is sent to Cesar Milan. So it goes back and forth in terms of the commentary. So the interaction is done through Dynamics Portals. There's no direct emails exchanged between Cesar Milan and K9 for privacy reasons, as well as you don't want a disgruntled applicant emailing the external reviewer directly. And plus, if the applicant has any issues, they should be calling up Sir Grant-Salot and have a chat with them rather than talking to the external reviewer directly. So the interaction is completely through Dynamics Portals, no emails are exchanged, and that's using out-of-the-box notes configuration. Okay, so then the last step that an external reviewer needs to go through is approving or declining the application, which is what they're doing through here. So what you're seeing down here is controlled by an on-demand workflow. So for the applicant experience, I was using web form and web form steps, but for the external reviewer experience, I was just using an entity form, and within your entity form you can add additional actions to it. So here I'm just saying call my on-demand workflow that will set it to approved. So the cool thing about actions, which I have shown in like another vlog, is that you can change things like the success message, what the button label should be, what the dialogue title should be, and then the confirmation as well that you want to be displayed before they actually go ahead with the action. So I have two, one for approved and one for declined. So that's pretty cool, and this is why I love Dynamics Portals, because there's so much that you can do with it out of the box. Okay, so now if I go back to the application, we're going to hit approve. And once I hit approve, we're going to see that dialog pop up. So you can see that there's the title approval, and I'm saying that this is the message that I want to display. And then as soon as I click on proceed, it will go ahead and update that application to approved. And so we'll see in here that the status is now approved. And when we go back into Dynamics 365, this will now update from pending to approved. And this was simply done by that on-demand workflow that was being called when the external reviewer clicked on the approved button. If they clicked on the decline button, then again it would show declined in here. Alright, so then the final piece in this application process is that I wanted to have the ability where when two approvals are made, so basically by the external reviewer and the internal reviewer in Sir Grant-Salot, then the application gets updated to approved automatically. So pretend that the internal reviewer has gone through their review and they're happy with it and they click approved, and then once they hit save, we'll now see that the status reason is automatically updated to approved. And yeah, that is the grant application management solution that I have put together and demonstrated at Melbourne's Dynamics 365 Saturday conference in May this year. And so just to recap, the challenges that I wanted to overcome was the ability to send emails where it would have a hyperlink to directly open up the record for the external reviewer or the applicant. And this is to minimize the amount of clicks and time spent for them, because really when they click on a hyperlink, it should just take them automatically to the record that they need to look at. No fluffing around, just get straight to the point, which is the end user experience that I wanted to provide. And then the challenge that I had also faced was sending emails to the applicant when the external reviewer entered a comment against the application, and then likewise when the applicant entered a comment against the application, it should get sent to the external reviewer. And yeah, I hope you learned something from me today. And basically I did this because I wanted to show that both Dynamics portals and Dynamics 365, including universal resource scheduling, can be used to provide a grant application management working business solution. And yeah, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new. Welcome. I also have an account on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter as well. And more vlogs to come, so make sure you follow me and keep up to date. Okay, see you next time. Bye!